Hello, my name is Kainson Moye, and thank you for joining me as we discuss the last process under the project risk management knowledge area. And today we are going to be looking at control risks. Remember that control risks is under the monitoring and controlling process groups. And take note that when we are talking about controlling or monitoring, we are talking about taking measurements. Alright, let's now go to see what Pinball Guide says control risks is all about. Control risks is a process of implementing risk response plans, tracking identified risks, monitoring residual risks, identifying new risks, and evaluating process effectiveness throughout the project. The key benefit of this process is that it improves the efficiency of the risk approach throughout the project life cycle to continuously optimize risk responses. So take note of these 5 points: implementing the response plan, tracking the identified risks, monitoring residual risks, identifying new ones, and evaluating the effectiveness of the process. Control risk process applies techniques such as variance and trend analysis, which require the use of performance information generated during project execution. Other purposes of the control risk process are to determine if project assumptions are still valid. Analysis shows an assessed risk has changed or can be retired. Risk management policies and procedures are being followed. Contingency reserves for cost or schedule should be modified in alignment with the current risk assessment. Control risks can involve choosing alternative strategies, executing contingency or fallback plan, taking corrective actions, and modifying the project management plan. The risk response owner reports periodically to the project manager on the effectiveness of the plan. Any unanticipated effects and any correction needed to handle the risk appropriately will be reported also. Control risks may also include updating the organizational process assets, including project lessons learned database, risk management templates for the benefit of future projects. So you can see that control risks is very, very important, as it has to do with trying to make sure that your risk management process is in line with the objectives. You are monitoring, you are checking, you are changing something that is not working well, you are seeing new risk and updating your risk register, and so on and so forth. Let's now take a look at the ITTOs of the control risk process. I think we're talking about control risks. We're talking about control risks, not plan risk response. So let me write the correct thing. We are talking about control risks. Control. I'm not good in writing with a free hand. Alright, but all the same, I think it's clear enough to read. Alright, so the input we have the risk management plan. Is it the risk management plan? No. What we should have here would be the project management plan. I don't know why I always mix up this. The project management plan, not the risk management plan. And remember too that the project management plan contains the risk management plan. Okay, we also need risk register. We need the work performance data, work performance reports. The tools and techniques are risk assessment, variance and trend analysis, technical performance measurement, reserve analysis, and meetings. Outputs: work performance information, change requests, project management plan updates, project document updates, and organizational process assets updates. Let's now look at some of these items one after the other. We do need the project management plan to control risk, because the project management plan includes the risk management plan. provide guidance for risk monitoring and controlling. Risk register is also important. It identifies the risks and the owners, the responses, the control actions for assessing the effectiveness of the response plan, the implementation actions, the warning signs, the residual risks, the secondary risks, watch list of low priority lists, risks, and time and cost contingency reserve. All this information is right there in the risk register. Work performance data. Remember, work performance data has to do with performance results, measurements of raw data from the field that has not been analyzed. For instance, status, progress, or percentage of the progress, scheduled progress, costs incurred so far. All these are data that can be collected as the progress moves on. We also need performance reports for us to control risk. Why? Because performance reports take information from performance measurements and analyze it to provide project work performance information, including variance analysis, earned value data, and forecasting data. These data points could be impactful in controlling performance-related risk. Let's now take a look at the tools and techniques for control risks. We are talking about control risks, not plan risk response. So permit me to erase this. We are talking about control risks, and we have the first tool and technique there is a risk reassessment. Okay, so in the course of controlling risks, new risks might be identified. If that happens, then there has to be reassessment of the current risks, because you need to know an overall impact of the whole risks identified. So risk reassessment is necessary. You also need to check the impact of existing risks. Are they still impactful? Do they still pose a threat? Can they be closed out? We also have some risks that has expected time. Maybe that when it's expected has come and gone and it didn't happen. For instance, you are trying to let's say erect certain pillars across a river. Okay, and then along the line you pass through the river, successfully erecting it, and nothing happens. So if there is any risk associated with that work activity, it can be outdated. So we're talking about reassessment. Sometimes the amount and detail of repetition that are appropriate depends on how the project progresses relative to its objectives. Another thing we do in control risks is risk audits. Risk audits examine and document the effectiveness of risk responses in dealing with identified risks and their costs and their root causes, as well as the effectiveness of risk management process. Okay, so remember, audits is checking the effectiveness of the process. So when you are performing risk audits, you are checking how good are we following the risk process, the procedures. How good is this process? Is it effective? Do we have to change something? So this is what happens in audits. The project manager is responsible for ensuring that risk audits are performed at an appropriate frequency as defined in the project risk management plan. Risk audits may be included during routine project review meetings, or the team may choose to hold separate risk audit meetings. The format for the risk audit and its objectives should be clearly defined before the audit is conducted. So I'm going to highlight this statement so that you know it's very important. The format of the risk audit has to be, and its objective has to be clearly defined before the audit is conducted. So having looked at risk reassessment and risk audits, The next tool and technique we are looking at is variance and trend analysis. Many control processes employ variance analysis. We've discussed this one before when we discussed control cost and control schedule. You are comparing the planned result to the actual field result. For the purpose of controlling risk, trend in the project execution should be reviewed using performance information. Earned value analysis and other methods of project variance and trend analysis may be used for monitoring overall project performance. Outcomes from this analysis may forecast potential deviation of the project at completion, deviation of the project at completion from the cost and schedule targets. So deviations has to be monitored. It may indicate that there is a potential threat impending. Maybe during a variance analysis you notice a very wide deviation. Of course, that means something is not right. So in control risks you perform variance and trend analysis. Another thing that you do during control risk process is technical performance measurement. What is this all about? Technical performance measurement compares technical accomplishments during project execution to schedule of technical achievements. Technical performance measurement requires the definition of objective, quantifiable measures of technical performance which can be used to compare actual results against targets. Such technical performance measures may include weight, transaction times, number of delivered defects, storage capacity. All these are technical performance measures. Deviations such as demonstrating more or less functionality than planned at a milestone can help to forecast the degree of success in achieving the project scope. Sorry. Reserve analysis, I'm not going to spend time here because we've discussed it several times. It has to do with comparing the amount of contingency reserve remaining to the amount of risk remaining. As the project moves on, the contingency reserve may be used, it may also be eliminated, it may also be reused. Meetings is also necessary in controlling risks because project management the risk management should be an agenda for many of the status meetings. As such, meetings is very important. Alright, let's look at the outputs. The outputs are 5 of them. Of course, many of them are updates. One is work performance information. Remember that we have inputs to be work performance data, and now output should be work performance information. Work performance information is data that has been analyzed and can be applied in decision making. Project management plan updates. Of course, you know that the project management plan includes the risk management plan. It might be updated as necessary in the course of control risks. You also have change requests. This is very clear because implementing contingency plans or workaround sometimes result in a change request. Wow, that time workaround is very important. A workaround is a response that you implement to handle a risk that have occurred, and this response was not planned. What it means is that something goes wrong, and without going back to your risk register, you quickly solve this problem as a workaround. So that is one thing that might happen during control risks. Change requests are prepared and submitted to the Perform Integrated Change Control process, and change requests can include recommended corrective and preventive actions as well. Recommended corrective actions are activities that realign the project performance with the project management plan. So take note, corrective action, you are realigning performance with the plan. They include contingency plans and workarounds. The latter, that is workarounds, are responses that were not initially planned but are required to deal with emerging risks that were previously unidentified or accepted passively. Preventive actions are activities that ensure that future performance of the project work is aligned for the project management plan. Then we have update to project document. It might be risk register has to be updated. Outcome of risk assessment, risk audit and periodic risk review have to be updated. Actual outcome of project risk and responses. Organizational process asset updates, for instance, templates and lessons learned. So this is where we are wrapping it up on control risks for the risk management knowledge area. I hope you've learned much. I want to say, if I've been fast, please rewind the video and try to get used to the explanations. And as usual, I'm going to take you back to the ITTO's page so that you spend some time staring at them and getting it right into your memory. Thanks once again for joining me. As we conclude this knowledge area, I also want you to join me in my next presentation as we start discussion of the second to the last knowledge area, and that is project procurement management.